What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to Sporting Convos with Eddie and Mike. It's me, Mike, and I'm here with my guy.
Eddie Pickering, ready to support your sport conversations on all ends. You're welcome.
And if you're listening in the morning, happy Mother's Day. Spend some time with your mom, all that other good stuff. And enjoy some basketball games today. Forgot who's playing today. I think the Knicks Pacers play today. I don't think the Timberwolves Nuggets playing today. No. When I say today, I'm talking about Sunday, bro, not tonight. I know the Cavs and Celtics are playing tonight. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, just enjoy your Sunday, your Monday if you're listening to it Monday or whatever. But anyway, we're going to jump right into it. Not tell y'all what we're talking about. We're just talking about football, basketball today, maybe a little bit of baseball because then that's kind of cooking. But we're going to start off with a hot topic on this Saturday evening. Dan Quinn, new head coach of the Washington Commanders, caused a bit of a brouhaha this afternoon about wearing an unlicensed NFL shirt. I'll paint a picture for you. It's a Commanders W over the Commanders logo word font. You know, the Commanders with the bars, the military bars or whatever. But there's a interesting feature added to the shirt. Our good friend, the Redskins feather, is accompanied with the Commanders W. And I mean, it set social media ablaze today. People can't stop talking about it. You got people complaining about it. You got people, I'm not going to say that word, they're very happy about it, if you know what I mean. We got people, hey, that bill was perfect, Simon. We got people, we got people that don't care. We got people that's teasing people who loves the old name and wants it back. We got people who's calling people racist because of the feather on the W.
Word.
I sent you the tweet. You said you wanted the shirt. Do you have any other thoughts and opinions based on the things I just said about the brouhaha that it created?
Well, I guess this could be the first semi-controversial thing going on with the new regime, because otherwise they've pretty much been killing it. Social media has really been killing it too. By the way, the fact that like we come across this via social media, but their social media was actually kind of starting to kill it just before the new regime took over. But I really like what they've done. I like everything they've done as far as, you know, we're talking Darryl Green's number being retired and things like that. We're doing things that are awesome. So this is a little interesting because I do believe there is some sort of litigation happening with the group. I want to say the word or term Guardians is in there somewhere. I know that's the baseball team in Cleveland, but it somehow that's involved. I swear. I know I should have more of my ish together in that sense, but it's that whole narrative that like the design was made by a Native American or a Native American group as far as the Redskins helmet.
Oh yeah, Walter Witzel or Whitesell. I forgot his last name.
Yeah, what Blackfoot, was that the tribe he was affiliated with, or I feel like Blackfoot.
Yes, sir. That was his nickname, I believe.
All right, perfect. All right, so there we are. Yeah, having said that, you know, obviously, and you're, I would think of similar mindset. This is what we grew up with, and I get it if it's offensive, but it's just, I don't know. I'm trying to choose my words carefully here too. It's just like I can't stand the name Commanders. I didn't like the whole football team thing. We were in purgatory with as far as a name for just a bit. We've had our fair share of other blunders and other things that just kind of have made us really the laughing stock that we were for so long. And so we're trying to get free of all that. I'm not mad at Dan Quinn. Like, he can wear whatever he wants. Whatever. I think honestly, this will eventually become a nothing burger because we have so much going on I mean, it's just going to be impossible to keep this thing going unless he continues to wear some of this stuff. Now, hey, maybe the person making it is a relative. Who knows? Maybe he's getting a slice of the pie or something. I don't know. I mean, bro, I know that's more of like a thing that would happen with the players as opposed to the coaches, but and I know this is also kind of different. I'm trying not to like trail off too much. Dang, what's my guy's name? Ted Williams. Ted Williams, who used to play for the Boston Red Sox, he's like a legend and everything. Before he passed away,
Senators head coach.
Okay, all right. I love that. Love that. Full circle. Bring it back to DC, DMV. He was honored at there was like an all-star game in Fenway, and this is when he was still alive. And they brought out all of these like legends because it was a certain milestone in the MLB existence. I think it was like the 75th or no, it's got to be longer than that. Either way, this was a like, 100th, 150, somewhere in there. And they honored all these legends. They brought him out. He didn't wear a Red Sox hat. He wore some flipping company.com, whatever, because of his son or his grandson. It's a whole nother story. But that's just a quick reference as to like me being, tinfoil hattish just a little bit, saying that, hey, maybe he's wearing the shirt because he agrees with the stance of the tribe, or he's got, stock in the, again, this is his nephew's company, or, the company approached him and they're willing to give him some money for wearing it. So I've said too much, too many words, but we're going to forget about this in probably like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe less.
Maybe, but the name debate isn't going anywhere. And I would say maybe amongst social media, it'll still be a buzz, but no bigger than the buzz that's been happening so far since the name change.
Personally, we have new ownership, so that's going to keep sort of like that's going to be the steam. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's really what it amounts to. Is you got to figure anytime somewhere like a company is taken over by another company, person, etc., they really want to put their mark on everything, and sometimes that can't happen right away. As Josh Harris has lamented, he's like, I'm just trying to get the plumbing and the toilets fixed right now. So one thing at a time. But yeah, I still maybe 3 weeks is a little I'm under kicking my coverage here, but still between quarterback and everything we're about to talk about with a number change, like there's too much going on. This is gonna blow over.
I'll say this before we move on. I can't. Well, no, let me say this. I understand the emotional connection to the Redskins and the logo and the name and the past. I was born in '89, so we had already won 2 Super Bowls by the time I was born. Won the third one a couple of years later. So a lot of stuff happened with the Redskins fans. So I understand a lot of people that's your age, maybe a little bit older, who is taking it the hard way of losing the team name and knowing that you'll never see the Redskins play on the field again. Having said that, no one told you you needed to stop wearing the Redskins gear. No one told you that you should stop buying Redskins gear. I bought plenty of Redskins gear since the name's been changed, both officially and non-officially.
Yeah.
I got the rest of the stock that they were selling, and I got some made. Y'all see me on both shows, on Eddie and Mike and on Commanders of Classified. I'm rocking Redskins gear almost every daggone episode. And I was getting to that, Eddie. Like, you still got the stuff on your wall. It's still Redskins stuff at FedEx Field. I've seen it. Like,
I got to be better at the pointing thing.
I get it because I did get emotional recently. When I say recently, I was saying in like the last 6 months or so, thinking about how we won't see Redskins anymore. So I'm not knocking the fans that have a that feel a certain type of way about losing the Redskins. However, you're not going to stop me from wearing the stuff because it's quote unquote racist when I got Native Americans literally all across the country, all across the globe that loves the Redskins or love the Redskins. So I'm going to do what I do. If I run across a Native American, somebody that actually, is a Native American and not just saying, oh, I'm 132nd, 116th Native American, like somebody that actually identifies as a Native American, they tell me, man, Mike, I ain't feeling that Redskin stuff. Can you turn it on, take it off, or get rid of it or whatever? Of course. By all means, I will get rid of it for you, not to offend you. But in this city, in this area, there aren't that many Native Americans. And like I said, if somebody was to say, man, take that off, I'm going to take it off, no problems. But you can't tell me with a rep, like who I can or cannot rep. That logo does mean a lot to me. I do understand the history. If it wasn't for the Redskins, I promise you, I would not care about Native Americans as much as I do. Because nobody else was teaching me about them like the Redskins were. But I digress, man.
So let me throw one quick thing. I think, don't get me wrong, a good majority probably would still feel the same way, even if what I said was about to happen, because it might actually magnify on a different level their displeasure. I think the fact that we just were so bad and we're a laughing stock and we didn't get that sort of redemption, like, hey, remember those glory years where it meant something to have a ticket, and RFK was just a sort of like a magnifying glass of just sound and vibration when we had those home games and all of those various memories and Hall of Famers that played on the team. I think we got so far away from that and just kind of were on the same sort of repetitive cycle, and it took so long to break it. And then I think the fact that that's how the legacy to a degree ends, at least with that team name, I think that kind of made things worse. Now, on the flip side, like I prefaced, if we were to have had some more success or more success than what we normally had, it might have made things worse too, because it's like, hey, we were back to the glory days, and now, we're changing things. So, but I digress as well. Unmute yourself.
I'm tripping. Hopefully, that's the last name talk we have, and the last of name talk that we have for the next year or so. It kind of sneaks up on us every now and then. But I really.
But let's deal with it. Sorry, Mike.
You say we both like Commanders?
We don't.
I mean, I don't. Personally speaking, I don't care. Like, it's the Washington I care more about than the actual mascot. Like, if the team went from Washington Commanders to Hagerstown Commanders, we'd have some problems. We have some problems. Anyway, come on, let's move. Jayden Daniels, number 2 overall draft pick for the Commanders, had a very interesting week. Before minicamp can even start, there was a major headline, and it was about his number. My man, Oklahoma Sooners' own Tress freaking Way. Boy, no football player has made me emotional off the field more than Tress Way. But it's always been about football. Like, that man loves him some football. And I know we can call him a punter. He don't matter, this, and that. Bruh, that man loves football. And he's a great person. So I had no doubt that he was going to give Jayden Daniels that number 5. And I'm pretty sure all you saw it by now, the video with him and Jayden Daniels and on Command Center, on social media, the picture. Like Tress Way did not have to give up that number. And we all would have understood if he didn't give up that number. But he had a conversation with Daniels. He talked to his wife. He talked to Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and probably some of his teammates. I don't know that for sure. I'm just assuming that he talked to some teammates about it. And everybody probably said, it's up to you. But we know because of the person you are that you're going to do it. And to be honest, like the number 5 didn't mean nothing to him personally when he first received the number. For all we know, Jayden Daniels, the 5 might mean much more to him than it does Tress Way, the actual number 5. Having said that, when you're not only a player for a team for 10 years, but arguably the best player for the franchise the last 10 years, again, I don't care if he's a punter. He's been the best player on this team for the last 10 years. He had every right not to give up that number. It was his number. He made it. I got a friend, shout out to my man Rob, I got a friend who has a Tress Way jersey. Like, the man is loved in this area. And for the 4th time, I have to say he did not have to give up that number. But because of who he is, like his wife said, the C on this shirt is more important than the number because the C lets the world know what type of person he is. I understand why he did it for the better of the team and everything. And I really feel like it's going to benefit him. Like I think Tress Way is going to have a great season this year.
So for me, yeah, all those boxes are checked. You're absolutely right. You know, we go back to last year with Jeremy Reeves getting the Pro Bowl nod and Tress Way's involvement in him finding out that information and you know, just class act all around. I was surprised, but not surprised by all the emotion he had. And obviously, excellent point from his significant other. I think we all are so lucky to have someone in our corner that kind of supports what we do and can kind of offer some advice from the outside. I do think, you know, just being myself, you know, being so superstitious that maybe that has something to do with it, just him in terms of visualizing and seeing that number 5 that he's had for so long. Cause I think he mentioned being in Chicago and he had like 1 or I don't know, he said single digits, but he said it wasn't 5. And as far as I can remember, when we interviewed Jayden Daniels' coach, he had mentioned Jayden Daniels wore 5 in high school, if I'm not mistaken, did he not? I think he wore 5 then too.
Yeah, he wore 5 in high school.
5 in high school, 5 in college. So again, like you mentioned, maybe there's more to it for him. We obviously haven't had recent success with anybody wearing number 5. But hey, maybe, you know, again,
I mean,
it's
we have way 10
okay.
years.
Listen, I don't mean to say that doesn't count. What I should have said is we haven't had anybody at the quarterback position that's wearing number 5 with recent success. So
Maybe
let me
the last 2
like that.
for the last 3 were Brennan McNabb and Heath Schuler, I think.
Yeah, you are.
And none of the 3. It's crazy to say that McNabb might have been the best out of the 3.
He started off pretty good. We had a lot of passing yards and everything, and the offense sort of showed at least some promise to kind of contend. But you know, a lot of ground balls, a lot of batting practice, fielding
worm killers
passes that killed us.
We called them worm killers.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, that's absolutely a good worm killers. Yeah,
that was trash.
Class act, Tress Way all around. You know, I think a lot of this, and I believe Grant and Danny talked about this. Shout out to Grant and Danny always. Love those guys. Maybe one day, Eddie and Mike, Grant and Danny, some sort of same level. Probably not, but nice to dream. Anyway, I think a lot of people are just like trying to get the Tress Way jersey. I mean, excuse me, the Jayden Daniels jersey. But they're like, he hadn't picked a number yet. You don't want to waste your money, especially if you're going big, getting the authentic. This guy will be here at least 5 years. You're hoping maybe closer to 7, 10 if we're lucky. So it was a lot of the fans kind of pushing that narrative because they want to buy the jersey. They're trying to be all in. The one thing I was a little – I mean, hey, whatever. They work it out between themselves, and maybe some stuff is going to happen we don't know about. I was under the impression this was going to be like a big, like, Jayden Daniels is donating all this money to like some foundations that Tress Way is affiliated with, and there'll be some other things. But as far as I know, it's the Sooners play LSU, and Tress Way will get some really good tickets for he and his family. And don't be wrong, I'm sure it'll be something, something real nice, real classy. But I was under the impression that this is going to be a haul of a deal for the number, not necessarily saying it would be a Jimmy Clausen, Cam Newton haul, where Jimmy Clausen was like, how about $1 million? When Cam Newton wanted to get number 2 off of Jimmy Clausen. So.
Yeah, that was wild. I remember when that happened, and he was like, "No," and I feel like he made the right decision. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if Wade didn't give up the number, it would have been perfectly fine. Everybody would have made a big deal out of it. Like the fans, like we made a big deal about a shirt. Like it would have been a big deal, but I mean, there were no other numbers available, I believe. Numbers 1 through 19 were taken. Numbers 1 through 19 were taken.
Guys are going to get cut, so you watch. Tress Way's probably waiting on certain guys if they get cut to get their number because.
But I know he had punters can get double-digit jerseys now. I mean, they can get they can have a jersey in the 90s. I believe the 30s and 30s through 30 through 49 and 90 through 99. The punters can wear those numbers. And I want him to go back to his college number, to be real with you. I would like the Tress Way number 36. It would look weird initially, but eventually we'll get to it. And right now, well, I don't know where Eddie went, but we can move on to the next topic because it's really not too much to talk about. We know what rookie minicamp. It comes a little after the NFL draft is over, but it's all rookies, so it's not anything too much to write home about. But I will say this: Jayden Daniels looking pretty good for it to be rookie training camp. I just sent the tweet video to Eddie to showing him doing a mobility drill, sidestepping with the football in his hand, but at the end you have to throw it to the net, the target net. Y'all know how the football nets look with the 4 or 5 squares in it for target practice for quarterbacks. So he's doing a side step. I think he had to do it 3 times, 1 to the left, 1 to the right, 1 to the left, and throw the ball into the net. And I'm telling you, I'm trying not to gas it up, but we've seen so many quarterbacks miss the bunnies, so to speak. I mean, he drilled that pass, bro. He hit that target so hard. And I'm like, he can do the basics. Like, it's a lot of times with quarterbacks here, and even my man Howell wasn't hitting the basics. They weren't hitting the bunnies. I think with Jayden Daniels, that maybe won't happen too much. And I'm not just basing it off of one tweet video or one mini camp weekend or whatever. It's just with everything, it's with everything. I'm sorry. Everything that everybody has said about him so far kind of backs up the tape that we see from LSU. It backs up our feelings about him because of the stuff that the stuff that people are saying about him, not just people in the media, but the people that actually know him. High school coach, news reporter, former head coaches at LSU, former teammates, current NFL head coaches. Antonio Pierce loves him some Jayden Daniels. So like I'm trying not to drink the Kool-Aid because we've been burnt so bad in the past. But bruh, how are you feeling after the first mini camp for the Jayden Daniel era? You muted, bro. We both did it this episode.
It's May. That's how I feel. It's May. Look, guys, it's not just about the past and sort of what you alluded to with the bamboozling and such. It's, you know, how many times has somebody looked really good at the combine or in any sport? There's that thing where they're like, yo, this guy practices really well, but in the game just doesn't play well. And then sometimes there's even the reverse where like bad combine, bad practice, but they play well on Sundays or, whenever, whatever sport they play. So don't be wrong. It's nice to see. It looks good, but we got to see what it looks like when we get out there and we do the whole thing with all the players and the refs. And, I'm sorry. Like, I know it's just like the one-handed catch. What's my man's name? 83. Looks good, but we're out there just kind of running around scot-free.
Yeah, like you said, it is me, like straight up. And I'll even take it a step further. I would say with RG3 and Sam Howell in their first seasons as a full-time starter, there were points in both of those seasons when we were like, oh, it's over. We have our franchise quarterback.
Absolutely.
And in both years, RG3 gets injured. He still starts the next 2 years. Well, no, he doesn't. Yes, he does. He starts the 13 season and the 14 season as the starter. So he's a starter for 3 years, but obviously the injury really jacked him up. And he wasn't the quarterback we would have liked him to be. The same thing with Howell, bro. Except for the injury part. He did not get injured. He just played really good early in the season. And then in the middle, he hit a wall. And I really feel like that's not all his fault. That's the fault.
You're passing all the time.
Right. It's the fault of the situation around him. And I think we might finally have the perfect situation with the quarterback that's actually talented and an organization that's actually going to take care of him. You know what's one thing that we've done so far with Jayden Daniels that I don't think anybody's even noticed compared to other times in the past with these quarterbacks, especially the rookie quarterbacks? We're not blowing it up. We're not putting his face everywhere. Mm-hmm. We aren't. The fans may be, the media may be, but the organization themselves are not putting this dude out there. At the draft day party, they always bring a first round pick to the party for the fans to see or whatever. They didn't do that with Jayden Daniels. They could have easily had an interview with him and Tress Way together, but they didn't. It was just Tress Way on the Redskins YouTube page. So, like, I'm not expecting Super Bowls or anything, but you can't tell me the last 4 months or I'll say the last 4 months compared to how this team usually does things. You can't tell me they're not operating on a different level right now compared to the past. Like we can we can go story for story, bro. I'm telling you. I have never seen this organization operate like this in my time as a fan. Now we're talking like 96, 97. I don't remember a time where everything seemed to be operating as one, so to speak. Like even I'm pretty sure you all saw the video, the mini camp, when after they break the huddle, the team kind of like goes and have a race. I don't think nobody even said this before, but they're racing. Like the two squads are racing each other. It looks like it's an offensive side versus the defensive side doing the high step drills over the football. What you call those things? The pads. Yeah. I guess they're racing. Like it's a race between the two sides. Like that's why everybody's so hyped and cheering. Like they're not trying to get hyped for practice or whatever. It's a competition. At least from my point of view, or from my perspective, I think it's a competition, and that's what Dan Quinn said when he first came here. Like we're going to compete. Adam Peters said, "Come week one, before he even hired Dan Quinn, that you're going to fill us." And so far, I have no reason to not believe him, bro.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you would hope or think that with the turnover rate that we have, I mean, there's a lot of guys. There's a good mixture of some vets who maybe still have a little bit left, some other guys who are kind of at that point where maybe this is where they turn the corner. So there's a lot of like energy and excitement, again with the complete turnover we have with personnel, players, coaches, etc. You got to think that this is sort of, I don't want to say redemption. I mean, maybe, for Dan Quinn, because it's another chance being a head coach. Some of the players they signed, again, they're trying to turn the corner. Maybe a guy like Austin Eckler, prove he's still got it. Bobby Wagner, again, a lot of people are saying he's brought in as an extension of the coach on the field and kind of like a culture, locker room guy, kind of set the tone, but maybe a chance for him to kind of prove like, hey, it ain't over for me either. And then equally with all these young guys, practice squad guys who maybe are trying to like kind of get off the practice squad. So you got to think there's a lot to be proved on different levels from different guys. And that would hopefully culminate in what you're talking about with all that energy and all that excitement, because it really is. It's a new day. There's a reason to be excited, and it's kind of like politics and whatever. The new guy takes over. Well, everything the new guy promises isn't going to happen right away. Like it's going to take some time. And in football, that's obviously a lot more fast tracked because we're going year to year instead of every 4 years. But again, like we're starting to kind of head towards now. Okay, it is year one, so I think most people who are sensible are like, all right, not necessarily expecting a lot, but at the same time, we're expecting a lot, like as far as like effort, excitement, like just overall like will and intensity, things like that. We're expecting to see like a recharge on some of those things because let's face it, the Rivera era, it was just very lackluster, especially towards the end, lethargic. It just, and really undermanned, outgunned, out everything. So we're hoping this year even if we're not winning games, we'll see kind of the opposite of a lot of those things I just mentioned. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the show because it probably is the biggest news for the Commanders right now. But my man, second round pick, number 36. Thanks for the bill. Johnny Newton has a second foot injury. It's the exact same injury on his that he had earlier this college football season, but it's on the other foot. He will be undergoing surgery, which means he's going to be out for a minute. Dan Quinn wouldn't even give a timetable because he just didn't want to start anything. So yeah, the pick, it was sour when we first picked it, and it became sweet. And now we probably gonna have to be a bit more patient with this pick. Even though it does look like a good pick, he won't be playing much probably this season. And I ain't gonna hold you, bro. I'm kind of frustrated. It's the second time we got a defensive tackle in the second round who's going to have problems playing or stand on the field. And with a second, like, this is a second round pick, bro. You just can't keep blowing these joints like this. And again, like, we know Johnny isn't, like, I don't expect him to be a bust. Just like I don't expect Fedarian Mathis to be a bust. But what's the point of you being on the team if you can't get on the field? And there was so many other directions you could have went with that 36 pick. And no, offensive tackle wasn't one of them. Like, either or heck. We weren't going to risk overdrafting the offensive tackle with the 36 pick if they didn't have them on that high on the board. There were other players available, like the cornerbacks. You could have drafted one of them, Quayon Mitchell or Cooper DeJean. Could have drafted one of them at 36. You might not have got Mikey Samstroll, but that's okay. There were receivers available at 36. There were a lot of players available at 36. You didn't have to go BPA, even though he was so far on your board, if you knew that this man had a second foot injury. That's probably, that pick is going to irk me. That's the spec. That's the spec of, no, listen.
You can't do that. He played yet. What if he heals up and come and
I understand that he hasn't played yet, but you got so much invested in the defensive tackle spot already. You paying two players top 10 salaries. You just drafted a second round defensive tackle less than 3 seasons ago. You got Ridgeway on the defensive tackle position. Like, you didn't have to go BPA if it was a defensive tackle. Like, probably should have went the second best player because that position was already enriched. This roster need help elsewhere, and defensive tackle was not one of those spots. Wow. Again, like, it's just a small speck of dirt on a white shirt, but it's a noticeable speck, even if it's not well seen. Like, the people that know, they know. That's all I'm saying.
Mike, I mean, nothing has even happened yet, minus the injury part, obviously. And I get it, but hindsight's 2020. Like, I'm saying, man, got to chill on that. The fact is, we went best player available. There's still a chance this guy works out. Him going down doesn't totally affect the depth on our defensive line. From what you just stated, we're going to be okay. And I mean, yeah, we could have gone corner, receiver. We could even reached at O-line, even though they're by BPA wasn't much available. But we did what we did. We gotta give this guy like at least a year or two to kind of like establish the roster he wants, and this guy being Adam Peters. And then kind of go from there and judge another year, maybe even two down the line as some of these guys start to develop. Let's not forget that as much as I mentioned the Austin Ecklers and Bobby Wagner's of the world, we've got a lot of other guys who are still relatively young. And, Allen and Payne, they're starting to become established. McLaurin as well. Like they're not starting. They pretty much are established and are, at that Pro Bowl contention level every year, hopefully. And then you got guys like maybe a Biotish, a Luvu, Jeremy Chin, even. Obviously throw in an Emmanuel Forbes and some of our other draft picks like Fedarian Mathis, like you mentioned, Cosme on the offensive side, Jahan Dotson as well. A lot of those guys are still developing, and we're going to hope that those guys start to pan out. And so the same is to be said about this incoming draft class. So again, I'm frustrated. The same as when we were frustrated when Fedarian Mathis went down. And he's starting to come around and was starting to kind of show some ability to contribute and, be what's the word I'm looking, be like a part of like a group, in a rotation that could just constantly provide fresh pass rushers, fresh pressure up the middle. So yeah, it not a big deal. Same as the shirt for Dan Quinn. Like, sucks for him. Hopefully rehab goes real well. Hopefully he takes it real serious, doesn't gain too much weight. And, that's that, man. Just got to focus on the guys that are healthy and hope that nobody else gets hurt.
Yeah. Other rookies, they've been looking well as they can for a rookie minicamp. Haven't heard much about Mikey Samerstill. Heard a lot about McCaffrey. He had a press conference. Senat had one. I'm sorry, Senate. Ben Senate. That's his last name. It's not
that was a hockey player?
Yes, I did.
That's crazy. I love it.
We'll talk about that later in the offseason.
Sure.
Brandon Coleman. They've been talking about how big that man is. Bro, I think he might. I don't think he's going to be the left tackle we expect him to be. I really think he might end up being a right tackle, and we're going to draft our franchise left tackle in the first round next season.
Okay.
At least that's what I hope. Let me not say that's what I see. That's what I hope. I want two monsters at tackle for Jayden Daniels. We're going to get so tongue twisted saying that man's name. We're going to say Jayden Daniels so much. Or maybe that's his bad name when he plays bad. Every quarterback had one. My favorite was Kurt Cousins.
Kurt alert.
But also, Jayden Daniels. That sounds good to me. But it's cool. OTAs are starting soon for the Commanders. So that'll be the next time we get some on-field action from the team. Mini camp is towards the middle of June, I believe. So that'll be a time we see everybody there. And then, at the mini camp, we'll get the videos of everybody practicing together, training together, or whatever. And before you know it, the end of July will be here, and we'll be back at training camp. But I'm kind of tired of talking football, even though I think we're about to talk some more football.
Sort of.
So you probably have a better grasp on the Austin Rivers take from this week. So what's happening?
Well, Austin Rivers, who let's not forget is the son of Doc Rivers, was a excellent, excellent college player for Duke. But as a top, I think he was a top 10, maybe even top 5 pick, never really panned out. And so now he's starting to enter the media side, which most guys do as their career comes to an end. And he made a statement about being able to take 30 guys who play in the NBA, and he wasn't necessarily even saying superstars, but I'm sure maybe he probably was leaning more that way than not, saying that they could compete in the NFL, but that it wasn't the other way around. And I think he's obviously kind of, leaning on the whole like Antonio Gates, Jimmy Graham, even for those who don't remember, Jai Lewis, who was a basketball player on the George Mason Final Four team. He got drafted in the NFL. I can't remember by who, but he was drafted. I think
it was the Giants.
Might have been. Like 5th round, 4th round, somewhere in that, maybe even later. Anywho, that's kind of where Austin Rivers is coming from. Could be one of those like hot takes, trying to make a name for himself in that world. And it just didn't really go over well. Because, if that was the case, we'd see that a lot more often. Don't get me wrong. I was able to list a few names. I know there's more. I think, what's my man's name? Was it Ricky Dudley? I think he played for John Gruden for the Raiders and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Gruden went to the Buccaneers. He was a tight end, had a basketball background. Obviously, I'm forgetting Tony Gonzalez, who played at Cal, played for Kansas City. So yeah, that's a thing, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, basketball is tougher than football, or, that, the athleticism translates directly, because that's just not true. Obviously there's more of a collision and brute strength aspect in football than basketball. But the whole thing was kind of like just a clickbait kind of topic. I just thought maybe, something we could chat about, because it was kind of cool when you see like an Antonio Gates come out of nowhere, a guy that can, kind of high point the ball. And there's always been that thing. I guess it more lies within the hip hop and sports communities, where like, hip hop artists want to be athletes want to be hip hop artists, that kind of thing. But this is sort of within that realm, within that space. So just something to chat about, because it's May.
Nah, you know what completely blew this man's take out of the water? I saw Keon Coleman's basketball highlights.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure you all know who that is by now. Wide receiver drafted in the 2nd round for Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Had a hilarious press conference.
Yeah.
And honestly, pre-draft interview with the Bills. They showed clips of that too. He called himself Tiger. Wish he would. Or wish he was. Or wish he could. I'm sorry. Tiger, wish he could. But his basketball highlights were crazy. And apparently he played at Michigan State. He played basketball and football for a season. And of course, I feel like he made the right decision going with football. You're a 2nd round draft pick in football. You're doing some good things. Yep. So shout out to him. But yeah, of course, Austin Rivers and a lot of basketball players, I saw him talking like, yeah, of course, basketball players can make the transition and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, they can, but only in specific positions. It's usually wide receiver and tight end where basketball players thrive. Ain't no basketball player playing on that line or in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
They're not playing any position on defense because it's too physical. Not saying that basketball players are soft or whatever, but they're not used to that contact that the defense would present. And every time we talk about players, we always say basketball to football. We always say in an offensive position. I think my favorite basketball player that I've seen play football, like superstar, and was like, wow, they would kill it on the gridiron, is Russell Westbrook. I think Russell Westbrook would have been a monster wide receiver. I'm talking monster wide receiver. That explosion, that speed, that attitude, that mentality. Westbrook would have been unhinged on the football field. But he made the better decision because he's he started a much better basketball player. Almost $1 billion athlete. Like, that man made his chicken on that court. But I think he would have balled on that football field.
So Ryan Clark had a great response to this where he was like, all right, show me the NBA Bo Jackson. Show me the NBA Deion Sanders. And certainly you can open that up to.
I don't think you can.
You know, I would say I'll throw one out there, and I think people would kind of marvel at this. And I'm only going off of like word of mouth because I was nowhere near alive when this was going on. But allegedly, Wilt Chamberlain, who was a large man, wingspan, 7 foot in the whole nine, he apparently could run like a 4.4, 4.5 40. He was like super athletic and nimble, and that was the whole thing. It was like, holy cow, you know, a guy this big, if I can just get to the spot quicker than him, I might be able to get the shot up real quick. No, he's quick enough and with his reach that like, no, you're screwed either way. And so I'm not saying he's Bo or Deion or somewhere between, but other than maybe someone like him or LeBron, you know, it's just not the same, you know, especially considering both those guys were able to play baseball, which maybe other than golf, I would say is you're starting to enter like highest degree of difficulty sport. So, you know, mashing all that up, it kind of more seems like a biased comment from a former basketball player with not alternative facts, but, you know, facts that are there but aren't as prevalent as they seem based on recency. So, you know, that's really as much as I got to say about all that. So
yeah, because it's not a new conversation that we haven't had probably even on this show before. Like, it's always a topic that we'll talk about, especially in the off season. But it was interesting seeing JJ Watt, like, bro, you're not even on the team right now. Like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
Like,
and
that was crazy.
You want to do one even further, Mike? Like I said, your boy, I'm pretty sure he might. Was he what number pick was he? He was like
Watt?
No, not
or
Watt.
Rivers.
Austin Rivers. He might have been a top 5 pick. And, you know, what did he average? Like 7 points? 7 points a game? 9 points a game?
I don't think, before I clicked this, I don't think he went as high as you think he went.
I think he was a top 10, if not top 5.
Yeah, he was the 10th overall pick by the New Orleans Hornets. Okay, I vaguely remember that.
Okay.
I remember him playing on the Hornets.
And then he was on like
and then the Pelicans.
Teams.
Huh?
He was on like 7 different teams, wasn't he?
Yeah, he played on a lot of teams. Let's see. They usually had a jersey. Yeah, he played on 8 teams. His last season being last year with the Timberwolves. Yeah. He played 52 games last year with the Timberwolves.
Pelicans.
I remember when he played for us. He didn't really do too much. but I remember when he played for us. But again, he didn't do too much. Staying on basketball though, real quick, bro.
Yeah.
We have a new MVP, but he kind of had a dynasty on us for the third time in the last 4 years. Nikola, the Joker, Jokic, is your reigning, defending NBA most valuable player. And I feel like he deserved it. No disrespect to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Jokic is just playing on another level right now. The Thunder may not be as good without SGA, but the Nuggets without Jokic,
oh my God, yeah,
is nothing. Like, let's just be real, they're nothing. I think the Thunder without SGA would be much better than the Nuggets without Jokic. But Shaquille O'Neal disagrees with me. So much, in fact, that he is livid at Shannon Sharp for taking some shots at him or calling him out or saying that he's jealous of Jokic because Jokic has now won, I believe he's won more MVPs than Shaq. I don't think Shaq has won. I think Shaq may have won 2 MVPs. I don't know if he's won the 3rd MVP or not. But nevertheless, he is wow. He's only won 1 MVP. That's crazy. That is crazy. But or is it? We can have that debate another time. But what's your thoughts on Jokic winning his MVP and Shaq and Shannon beefing about it, bro?
Well, the way you look at things, that the way it's gone, you look at like Derrick Rose's MVP year, it's usually the player on the best team who's scoring a lot of points, and Gilgeous-Alexander and Oklahoma City sort of fit that narrative. And I don't have a problem with Joker. Everything you said is correct as far as I'm concerned. Not that Shaq doesn't make a good point, but he seems to always revert back to this, saying that like he should have won it over Steve Nash. And I don't want to totally get into that argument because I'm a little biased towards Shaq. Like as I get older, I can maybe sort of appreciate
That's
it.
why I said save it for later, bro.
Well, but he was that big, and I don't know how difficult it really was for him to score. Like obviously he didn't have a jumper, but Mike,
I mean, I'm not saying
he wasn't even trying. He admitted himself, like, I wasn't in great shape and I didn't give a good effort and blah blah blah. Like,
I mean, but you still got to be naturally talented because if that was the case,
oh,
then a bunch of 7-foot bounders.
but listen, it's not the naturally talented award. Okay, it's the MVP, and I don't disagree with you. It also on the other side speaks volumes to just how good he was, that he wasn't in great shape and still was playing like that. So yes, you're correct, but I think where Shaq makes his mistake is he tends to always kind of make it about himself. There were some other arguments that he's gotten into on the TNT set with Charles Barkley, and don't get me wrong, I get that they're trying to kind of like push that to a degree because it's ratings and blah blah blah. But Shaq's a Google me. Like he always wants to kind of like make it, oh, well, I'm sorry, Joker. And then, right to this guy's face, like, what's he supposed to say? Oh, fuck you, you're wrong. Like, I mean, that'd be cool too. Maybe that's what TNT's trying to do. Maybe they're the ones telling him to do it. I don't know. But this happened about 20 years ago, Shaq and the Steve Nash thing. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's a lot of Raiders players who are never going to let the Tuck rule go. Okay? They're never going to let that play go. And I don't blame them. Charles Woodson, probably one for sure. Greg Beekert, whatever the linebacker was. He's the one that recovered the fumble. Yeah, so I mean, I get it being salty, but man, it's always, I got to bring it back to me. Well, when I played, dude, you're one of the best big men ever. And then you go at, Shannon Sharp for what he said. Shannon Sharp said he felt like Joker was the MVP. He just disagreed with you, but, you know, wanted to make this whole thing. If anything, I put Shannon Sharp in that Jordan kind of conversation. He definitely was one of the best ever in his position, but then he also never was like, hey, you know, fuck Gronk, fuck Travis Kelce and Gates. He's actually said he thinks all those guys are better than him. Like just being humble. So I don't get it. I know Shaq's in the media, and I get there's a certain level of like shock culture, kind of like because he says whatever he wants, and I genuinely tend to kind of like go with like what he says and does. He's a good dude, charitable and just all those things, but I think he's wrong in this one. Plain and simple.
Yeah, it kind of happened to two of my favorite players of all time, and that's crazy. But with both Shaq and Aaron Rodgers, um, I marvel at their athletic ability and accomplishments, but their takes can be a bit selfish at times, bro.
Yeah.
Like it really can be. So I'm with you on that. This show went way longer than expected. So I'm gonna throw out. Well, we can talk quickly about the four playoff matchups and the conference
Nuba?
semifinals. Yeah, we can.
Little Nuba?
We'll go in this order. Nuggets and T Wolves. The T Wolves are up 2-1. Denver got them in game 3 last night.
Yeah, they blew them up.
Pretty convincingly at that.
Yeah.
So who you got finishing this series off? It's now become a race to 4 with Minnesota ahead by 1.
I mean, it's really tough to count out the champions. Real quick, and we talked about that Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, 3 for 28 now. That applies to Jamal Murray. He was like 3 for 16 or 17. Then he threw that heat pack the other night and he missed on that. That made him 3 for 18 or 3 for 19, which I got to be honest, man. And I kind of like would tend to, I guess, sort of assign or affiliate myself with the Nuggets more than the T-Wolves here. Jamal Murray should have been suspended a game. I know they fined him $100,000, but I thought that was like I was just kind of surprised. Like he threw that stuff and was just throwing a fit and on the floor and
See, I never saw it, so I'm not sure how bad it was. But I see a lot of people saying he should have been suspended.
But he threw a full temper tantrum, and I just again, he threw stuff. Tim Duncan was laughing on the sideline and got tossed out.
Yeah,
but it's tough to go against the Nuggets. I know the T-Wolves are like kind of the darling of the playoffs. They're the surprise team, and guys like Towns and Gobert and obviously Anthony Edwards. But they really are playing kind of more team ball, similar to the Pacers. I'm going Nuggets. Nuggets are they're gonna figure all this out.
I hate saying this because it seems like a cop out, but I really do believe whoever wins game 4 is going to win the series. If the Nuggets win, I've got them winning. If the Wolves win, I got them finishing off with a gentleman's sweep for real. But yeah, I really think it's going to come down to game 4. Whoever wins that wins the series. Knicks versus Pacers. I believe that series is 1-2 New York. I still don't know. Yes, the Knicks are up 2-1. The Pacers won Game 3 last night, 106-111. Personally speaking, I just feel like the Knicks got some mojo going right now. I don't trust the Pacers. Never have, never will. And Brunson might be the hottest player in the league right now. Not named Edwards. So I think the Knicks. I think it's going to go 6 though. I'll say that. I think it's going to go 6, but I think the Knicks win Game 6 in Indiana, and they are going to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since
like the 90s,
1999.
Yeah.
So they won and lost to the Spurs in the championship.
Yep, that was Duncan and Robinson's first title. That was let me give you the starting lineup for that San Antonio Spurs team. You got your boy Avery Johnson, the literal general. Then you got Mario Elie, two-time champ from the Houston Rockets days. Then at small forward, you got Sean Elliott, the guy who almost stepped out of bounds against Portland and then hit that three. And then you got the Twin Towers. You got Timmy Duncan and David Robinson, and that's your starting lineup. So, anyway, yeah, this is awesome to see this old Eastern Conference rivalry start to kind of come back. It'd be really cool to get the Heats and the Knicks rivalry going. There's definitely some kind of nostalgia starting to brew as some of these, Philly, I don't know what's going to happen there, but as some of these teams in these big cities start to get good again, like way back when I was younger, it'd be really cool to see. Indiana's interesting. I like their team. I like watching Tyrese Halliburton play. He's long. He hits the three. He's really good at setting his teammates up. And they kind of play like a no name, no number style of basketball. Any given night, whether it's Miles Turner, Siakam, you got guys like was it Naismith, I think. They got a couple of guys that can put up some points. It might not be Naismith, Nesbitt, it's something like that. But there's a handful of guys on the Pacers that can put some points up for sure. Even TJ McConnell, he's kind of underrated. He's a little bit of a pest style player. And it's interesting because Rick Carlisle, that's the opposite of him. He's more of a defensive style coach.
So yeah, he said that last episode too.
Oh, well, damn. Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, okay, I'm repeating myself, Mike. Oh, you're getting old, Ed. Time to put you in a home, Ed. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, it's just interesting to see that because it's just like, hey, like we're gonna try to like boat race you if we can, and if not, it's just gonna be a race to whoever can get to like 200 points or something, The Knicks, it's really cool to see that little Villanova triangle go with Brunson, Josh Hart, and DiVincenzo. You got Brunson who on the surface looks like the motor, but I'm here to tell you it's Josh Hart. It's all those rebounds and loose balls. He's also getting you some points. He's just getting after it. And when you got a guy like DiVincenzo who has really become a great shooter and just a good all-around offensive player, when you have someone like him as a threat for Brunson to dish off to, which Brunson is fully capable. He's a good point guard as far as setting up teammates too, is not just his scoring. When you have that kind of triangle and you got a lot of other guys who are willing to run the floor and just hustle and play that Tom Thibodeau style of basketball, I mean, that's a dangerous team. And what's crazy is like they ain't got no Julius Randle. Can you imagine if that guy was there? That guy's a dog. He's tough. His style of basketball is like playoff style basketball, but that's how he always plays. Real physical, real like kind of chippy. So they don't even got him. And to be honest, I was under the impression that Brunson was maybe not even going to play. I know Anobi, I know he didn't play because he's hurt. So that's the thing to watch out for is these injuries. And that applies to every team. But in this series, if Brunson was to not play, I feel like that's the Pacers all day. So that's just where I'm at on all that. But awesome to see these two match up, because that Indianapolis where they play, and then obviously Madison Square Garden, that's an iconic matchup.
Oh, that's why. Let's stay in the East, bro. Let's stay in the East. They play tonight. The Cavaliers and Celtics. And you know what's funny? I saw a post or a comment or a quote or something that said Jason Tatum said that they can't be beaten or something like that. We're a tough team to beat, or I saw some tweet or whatever with him insisting that the Celtics are a tough team and it's going to be hard to beat them or whatever for whatever reason. I don't know why he said it. And right on cue, the Cavs steal home court advantage from the Celtics in Game 2 and tie the series up 1-1. Game 3 is tonight, Saturday night at 8 on ABC. And the Celtics should win that series, bro.
Yeah.
I don't see them not winning that series. But they are so known for playing with their food that it would not shock me at all if the Cavs mess around and win these next 3 games. Because that's the type of stuff the Celtics be on, bro. They got a squad. Porzingis, Brown, Tatum, Horford. Is Banks still there? Robert Banks, I think that's his name. He's still there. Who else? Huh?
Banks?
I mean, not Robert Banks.
Williams?
Oh, he's injured because I don't even see him on the list. Or did they trade him?
They got Sam Hauser. They got Pritchett. They got Horford.
They got my man Drew Holiday.
Cornette, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Tatum, Brown.
I mean, like I said, they got a squad. They should not be struggling with this Cavaliers team.
No Porzingis.
But I will say this.
Hurts him.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And I said that last episode.
But the caveat is, see, the Cavs only have Evan Mobley. Jared Allen is injured right now. If the Cavs had both Allen and Mobley, I really feel like the Cavs might be like kind of dominating this series a little more. But at the same time, I mean, I look at that squad. Donovan Mitchell is dangerous. Darius Garland is underrated. And then you got guys like Karis LeVert, even is it Isaac Okoro? I'm trying to like get better on saying these names right. You got those two guys who are definitely like some good quick microwave buckets off the bench. Strus, he's a little more streaky, but he's definitely a good shooter for you. So Okoro. Okay. So that's 3 guys coming off your bench that can definitely produce for you. Again, Celtics, I think Celtics will probably handle this series, but I think Porzingis is the key for them. Like if he's able to come back or if he was available, I think they would be a force. Because now you have a guy who can go inside, who can pop outside, for some threes and bring the big man out for Tatum and Brown and whoever else to attack the basket, but he's not there. And it's a whole different ball game. It's a lot more pressure on Tatum. Now, if Tatum and Brown are cooking, and Derek White is he's solid, good player, both sides of the ball, but still, you would need all of those guys on their absolute A game for the Celtics, I think, to win the title. But I think they can win this series.
I'm going to tell you right now, a West team will be winning the title this season.
Okay.
And I know you can't say, oh, Mike, you can't say that. The game's got it. No. Come on, man. No. A West team's winning the title. The East is trash. They're weak. No. The Celtics is not beating the Thunder, Mavericks, Thunder, Mavericks, Wolves, or Nuggets in a 7-game series. And if that's the best the East has this season, it's not enough. Speaking of not enough, you would think the OKC Thunder getting the 1 seed in the Western Conference Finals going up against a team like the Mavericks who are so up and down. Like they are so up and down. But you would think a team like the Thunder would easily handle them. But they're down 2-1. The Mavericks take game 3 in Dallas this afternoon, 105-101. And PJ Washington, 27 points. He came up big for Dallas today. And if PJ Washington is going to score 27 points with that team, it could get ugly, man. And Dallas, they have not only the talent, but they're a big team too. Our favorite, Daniel Gafford, is the starting center there. Who else they got there?
Josh Powell, another one, good sized guy. I don't know if Max Kleber's still there or not, but they definitely had him. Lively, Derek Jones Jr. They got some length to go along with PJ Washington. And he's had success the last 2 games. I don't want to overdo this, but I watched 2 nights ago and then I watched today. I think Kyrie Irving deserves a lot of credit because he's making basketball plays. Like, yes, certainly he's using his ability to dribble, maneuver, and create space to get shots off. But I see him doing it a lot more in the setup fashion, dropping dimes to his teammates. I also see him, every break, even during live action where he's pointing and yelling at people to go in certain places on both ends of the ball. So I really, obviously with guys like him and Luka and both have played fairly well. I mean, more so Luka. Irving is a little bit more up and down, and some of the things he's been doing aren't going to show up on the stat line, but his assists are definitely up. He's definitely making plays. I see him kind of really using all the experience he has as a veteran for a lot of these younger guys to guide them and direct them and say, hey, when this happens, you need to move here or kind of, be ready for this to happen. I see a lot of that. So I really feel like he deserves a lot of credit. And then I think you also got to factor in OKC's got a lot of young guys. They don't have guys who have playoff experience in it. And I think that paired with, you got a guy like Luka who's as big as he is, but can kind of take you off the dribble and do all the things he can do. That already presents a problem. And guys like Luka and Kyrie, they have the experience and pedigree. Well, now you're in trouble. And OKC's tough, and they've got a little bit of what I was talking about with Indiana, whether it's Holmgren or Jalen Williams or Isaiah Joe, Lujan Dort. They've got guys who can put some points up too. They spread the ball around, but they're really green when it comes to the playoffs, and only a little bit less than Dallas, but I think that's what's the factor right now in what you're talking about.
Nah, and that's a great point, and that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Dallas, not only because they're up 2-0 right now. I'm sorry, 2-1 right now, but like you said, they're the veteran team. Don't forget, this man Kyrie is an NBA champion, and not only an NBA champion, but he's the reason he's an NBA champion when it all boils down to it. This man is battle tested. He's played in the toughest of environments, in the toughest of situations, in the clutchest of situations. And without him, that Mavericks team isn't up 2-1, 2 wins away from the Western Conference Finals. And don't get me wrong, it's not like Luka's trash or anything, but him and Kyrie or him with Kyrie, pretty good basketball. And basketball is one of the sports where when you have the best players or the most talented players, you can beat the more talented team easily. That's just how the game is. That's just how the game is played. Two players can definitely, or shoot, even a single player. We saw it with LeBron 20 years ago when he took over the, I think it was the semis versus the Pistons. He took over 24 straight points or 26 straight points to end the game. And this is a defending champion we're talking about. So, yeah, with Luka and Kyrie, I'm not shocked that they're up 2-1. I just thought the Thunder would be up 2-1 right now. That's all. That's it. That's all. And speaking of that's it and that's all, I want to thank everybody for listening to us. It's a long episode. We really appreciate it, especially if it's on Mother's Day.
Yes.
You didn't have to spend your Mother's Day morning or afternoon with us, but we appreciate that. And we're going to end the show talking about my Nationals. Well, no, I'm not going to call them Nationals because they're actually playing pretty well right now. They did take an L at Fenway today. I believe it was 5-3 Boston. But the Nationals are playing 500 baseball. They're half a game behind the final wild card spot. Bro.
What? I turned this off. Turned it off. I hit the thing.
The good news is that it's been like perfect timing. But nevertheless, I am satisfied. Like, they can lose every game for the rest of the season, and I would be satisfied with the national season this year because they're showing that they're fighting, that they're building, that they're getting better, and that Rizzo just knows how to build a baseball team. Now, we don't know if this team will be like the 19 team and win the World Series or whatever, but I don't really care about that. We got to build from the bottom to get back to the top. And right now, I like the direction that we're heading in. And who knows, maybe we can get on that serious heater and actually make the wild card, which would be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing exciting ball. One thing that's kind of like weird I've noticed, we are in an American League East stretch. We have now played the Orioles and the Blue Jays, and we are now playing the Red Sox. We won the series against the Blue Jays. We split with the Orioles because it was 2 games. It was 1-1. That's where we're at with Boston, 1-1. I mean, I like what we're doing. We are tied for the league lead in stolen bases with Cincinnati with 66, but for what's the word I'm looking here? For reference, for whatever, Ellie De La Cruz is killing it with 25 stolen bases. He's leading the league. We have it a little more spread out. And that's, I texted Mike saying we're playing Ricky ball. Those of you who don't remember Ricky Henderson, whether he was playing for the Oakland A's, the New York Yankees, this is mostly the A's, but it was, hey, Ricky's going to get on. He's probably going to steal at least 1 or 2 bases in this little series right here once he gets on. And, don't let there be somebody who can bring him in. Oh, it's over. So right now, to my knowledge, I think Jacob Young has, I believe, 13. And then I think Lane Thomas, let me see here. Yeah. Jacob Young, 13, Lane Thomas, 11. And then you can come down to number 16 in terms of stolen base league leaders, CJ Abrams. And then I believe, Luis Garcia and Trey Lipscombs have 7 each. So we're spreading the love on that. There's a lot of good play from our young guys. Like I mentioned, Jacob Young, he's playing great. I see a lot of things out of Lipscomb and Winker, who I believe are younger guys, but maybe a little more on the veteran side. Manassas had a homer today. And we got a lot of young pitchers. Mitchell Parker is playing out of his mind. Mackenzie Gore has been a little bit shaky, but overall really good. Irvin was pretty good today. Kyle Finnegan's played really well for us as a closer. Got his bobblehead the other day. Pretty cool with that, with the Star Wars May the 4th day. So definitely a lot to be optimistic about. Hopefully we'll get out of the American League East purgatory soon. Yeah, man. I think we're in that space where our expectations aren't high, so it makes this all the more cooler. We're above 500 right now, and that's really the
Nah,
best.
we're 19-19
Oh,
right
stop
now.
playing! Oh, today's loss put us. Damn it!
Yeah.
My bad. I'm off my game. But still, 500. We're in a tough conference or a tough division rather. And it's really early, man. We got all summer.
Indeed.
That's all I got.
Sorry we didn't have any. Sorry we didn't have any guests for y'all this episode. I really couldn't think of anybody to invite on. Well, actually, I did. The Bama just never hit me back. And if I ever get them on the show, I'm gonna tell them about it. So,
gotcha.
But nah, I'm joking. But yeah, like y'all know how we do it with Sporting Convos with Eddie and Mike. Oh, and I have to let y'all know the reason we changed the name. It was just easier to search. Like Eddie and Mike is kind of generic. So I tried to do the DMV, but it didn't work too much. So we are officially Sporting Convos with Eddie and Mike. And yeah, it's a good name. You'll be able to find us easier.
Good night. We love you. Thanks for listening.
Holla at y'all Bama's next week.
Love you, Mom. Happy Mother's Day.